Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. Today I'm wearing a leopard print cashmere sweater, which I got for my birthday in December for, believe it or not, $150 off. Sometimes dreams do come true, and my tiger's eye plugs and my first lobe piercings kind of match the sweater. I absolutely love animal print, and so anyway, today I'm going to be doing another video with crossover booktube and authortube appeal. This is based off of a blog post which I wrote on the 26th of May 2014 called What Makes a Gimmick, and it's just going over a bunch of things I generally don't like. Sometimes they do work, but more often than not, they just come across as terrible gimmicks in books and, of course, by extension, movies and television shows. And obviously, let me know down in the comments if there are any things I missed or if I hit on one of your favorite gimmicks or a gimmick you don't like as well. What feels gimmicky in one book may work beautifully and naturally in another. It all depends upon the author's intent, execution, and skill. Some types of stories also lend themselves better to styles or devices which seem annoying and gimmicky in others. There are some things which can be gimmicky in the wrong hands, the wrong book, or for the wrong reasons. Number 1. Everything, or the meat of the story, was just a dream or fantasy. Who doesn't want to bang his or her head against the wall after getting emotionally invested with characters in a story, only to discover it wasn't real? This is a slap in the face, no matter whether it's a book, movie, or TV show. Looking at the series finale of Roseanne, seriously, so many years later, that was in the spring of 97, I still feel really angry and cheated and betrayed when I think about the final episode of Roseanne. Everyone loved these characters, even if we did, kind of feel the show started jumping the shark a bit, like in later seasons. But that last final episode, it just makes me so angry, and I hate it when any book or television show or movie does this. It's just really, really bad. I really, off the top of my head, I can't think of any successful examples of this. So let me know down in the comments if you have ever read a book or watched a television show or a film that did successfully do it was all a dream or just a fantasy or something I was making up for a book at the end, and it actually worked well. And again, it would have to be done extremely well and for an original reason to work and not feel like a huge insult to the reader's intelligence, time, and emotion. Number 2, nonlinear narrative. This was done very well in Bao Nin's The Sorrow of War, but the author is Vietnamese. A nonlinear structure is apparently more common in Asian novels. If it's a Western novel, I'll be less likely to give it a pass. The main exception I can think of is if the book is being told as a flashback by someone in the present. For example, a grandmother telling her grandkids the story of how she immigrated, with periodic interludes to now, or if it involves someone in the present trying to solve a mystery from the past. For example, I was thinking of Malpate's Tamar, which does exactly that. And I just really don't like this, particularly when, sometimes they'll move one character back and move the other character forward. That's another non-linear thing. It's just so many writers, they just have no experience with it or just don't know how to do it. They just, this is trendy, or this is a cool gimmick, or I want to try something new and be a little different, so I'm just going to try something I have absolutely no experience with. And that really, really shows in your writing. I know this is kind of off topic, but for the same reason, I feel many writers these days who are trying present tense, particularly first-person present tense, it just comes across so badly because they don't even have the practice or the skill or the long-time experience with writing the classic default narrative of third-person past tense, and before they just started experimenting with all sorts of new things that don't always necessarily work well for every single kind of story. Number 3, alternating between first and third person. This can work in a good nonlinear book, like the examples mentioned above, but other times it just feels annoying and gimmicky. It could also be tolerable if the meat of the book is a flashback and has some wraparound segments in the present. For example, Nancy Garden's classic Annie on My Mind, which is a classic YA I highly recommend, and it's also a classic of lesbian literature, and it's notable for being one of the very first lesbian novels which doesn't end in death, disgrace, ruin, or marriage to a man. I really, really should do a video reviewing this in future. I'm long overdue to reread this absolutely wonderful classic book. Number 4, alternating narrators or POV characters. This just feels gimmicky and faddish after seeing it done so many times in recent years. I'm not saying writers are doing it on purpose just to mindlessly follow a trend, because that would be insulting, but when it's all or mostly what they've seen examples of, how will they know how to write a good story with multiple protagonists or an ensemble cast? Third-person omniscient can be your friend, and I particularly don't like this when they just bop back and forth. Sometimes, as I mentioned, Andy Milligan's Trash, there were 8 first-person narrators, and some of the later chapters even bopped around between 3 or 4 of the narrators at a time. It's just like pick one main character, maybe like 2 or 3, and just stick with those people instead of, oh, bopping around between these people. And the one character even introduced herself. My name is Grace, and you will only hear one thing from me. And why are you in this book? Like, seriously. And like so many times they'll have, oh, I can only write from this character's point of view for a chapter, so it's only going to be a single line and then bop back to the next character, which was in Beth Revis's Across the Universe. I'm told, like, seriously, like, why are so many people not understanding how to do third-person omniscient or just, classic third-person limited? Like, it does not every single book has to be in the first person, believe it or not. That should only be chosen very carefully when it absolutely, has to be in that particular tense, and it just wouldn't feel right in anything else. And again, this can only really come with a lot of experience from writing the classic default of third person. Number 5, an unnamed narrator. This works beautifully and perfectly in Jerzy Kosinski's haunting classic, The Painted Bird, but there's a reason for it. In most other books, it would probably feel poorly executed and gimmicky. Number 6, the narrator dies at or near the end, unless there follows an epilogue by another person explaining how the story came to be told, like, for example, the papers were found after the death. I can't suspend my disbelief. Who is this I telling the story if she or he dies? For that matter, I also don't feel on the edge of my seat if a first-person narrator is in a very dramatic, live-or-die situation, since I know she or he obviously survived to tell the tale. Number 7, ridiculous or too convenient deus ex machina plot twists or coincidences. Just step away from this one. Number 8, death or some other omnipresent, all-knowing being as narrator, the book thief. There has to be a sensible, believable explanation as to why this person is telling the story and focusing on a certain person or event. Being so completely omniscient also doesn't mean God mode. I'm glad modern omniscient writers have moved away from that archaic style of judging characters, manipulating prose to essentially tell the reader how to feel and react, and giving away future developments. Like, seriously, I freaking hate The Book Thief so much. I'm so long overdue to do a video based on my blog post, ripping it a new one. Just, there are no words to describe how much I absolutely hate this book. Just thinking of it so many years later, it just makes me angry. I don't understand why so many people squee all over it. Just, I cannot wait to rip this apart on video. Number 9, the long-lost relative suddenly, miraculously, reunited or discovered. Like, seriously, who doesn't think that's stupid or annoying? This gimmick. Number 10, a story within a story within a story, until I radically rewrote and restructured the book formerly known as The Very First. This is how the book was structured. It opened in 2000 as the now elderly women gathered at Violet's mansion to make a tape recording about their lives in the years leading up to World War II. Then it cuts to August 1938 as the Brontes arrive in Atlantic City. Violet upstages Sini, the most popular girl, by arranging a meet and greet for Sparky, whose birth name is Katerina. Her name was changed to Catherine when she comes to America, at the Tuna Parlor. The event doesn't go as planned, and Sini takes Sparky aside to teach her all about the strange town and its people. So scores of pages are just endless backstory, with occasional asides and parentheses, reminding the reader that Sini is telling the story to Sparky. The real story doesn't begin till part 2. I had a few intermissions to the present in the book the very first, and the book formerly known as The Very Next. Talk about a terrible gimmick, and the first 2 do have new and improved titles because they've been published, but I just emotionally attached to thinking of them as the working titles they had for about 25 years or whatever. And the third book, which I am working on the radical rewrite of now, it also has a new and improved title, which will not be revealed until it is published. And because 11 is my lucky number, and I've been adding one more to all these top 10 lists I've been doing, there's another gimmick I didn't think of when I was doing this post, although sometimes it can work. It's revealed at the end of the book, or sometimes it's not even like just one book, but an entire series. Oh, the person who was really writing the story all along was the protagonist. Like, seriously, that's just kind of cringe and gimmicky and such. If you really felt that way or it was supposed to be read like that, why didn't you just do it in an epistolary format? For example, the author, the protagonist is writing a journal or doing back and forth letters with someone. Just seriously, there's so many gimmicks. I just really, really don't like most of these gimmicks. Thank you very much for listening. As I mentioned earlier, please let me know in the comments down below if I missed out any gimmicks, or just weigh in on what you thought about the gimmicks which I mentioned. And if you enjoy content like this, please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and hitting the notification bell. And I particularly do like seeing comments from you guys. A comment does mean a lot more to me than a like, because I want to build more friendships and have conversations, and make engagement across booktube and authortube. And I will see you guys again very soon. Thank you again for listening. Bye.